last Tuesday night, we started studying through the Torah. We specifically looked at Exodus, where Moses gathering together the people. He needs to go down further, sorry. He's gathering together the people, which is the origins of the church. But we also, it showed, I didn't get to talk too much about what was going on there, but there's all this stuff about the tabernacle and the curtains, the veil, about the priestly garments and what they wear, and all these things about approaching the presence of God. Because the Holy of Holies is like where He is. But to get there, we have to go through all these things to get there. And it's like, well, why? So my question I'm going to ask everybody is, why can't we see God? Why is God hiding Himself? Why is He hidden behind a veil? Here's another question. Why, when Jesus was performing miracles, did He tell the person that received their healing not to go tell anyone? I know it didn't work very well, but it's like, I mean, He said in Mark 1, chapter 1, verse 43-44, and Jesus sternly charged him and sent him away at once and said to him, see that you say nothing to anyone. Why? Why is God wanting to hide Himself, and then when He's performing miracles, He's saying, don't tell anyone? The church is opposite. We want everyone to know about the miracles. I study a lot of Jewish stuff because, well, they wrote the Bible. And according to the book of Romans, what Paul says is like they're being given the very oracles of God. So they're good to listen to. In Hasidus, I've actually seen and heard about a lot of incredible and amazing miracles and healings. And they do the same thing. They hide it. They don't want the world to see it. It's like, why? Now, there is a reason for that. And I think I'm getting ahead a little bit. But Jesus didn't want people to focus on the miracles because He doesn't want you coming to Him for miracles. He wants you to come to Him for Him. Amen. And a lot of, like in the church, we're focused on the glitz, the glamour, the big show. I mean, the miracles and the healings, they're good and they're awesome and we need them, but that's not the focus. The focus is Him. Amen. So we believe in God. Why can't we see Him? I'm asking these questions to make you think. So the real reason behind all this is a powerful concept called tzniut in Hebrew. Now, unfortunately, this Hebrew word is translated into English as modesty. Now, don't get freaked out on me here. When we talk about modesty, it seems to be in our Western culture the very thing that we run away from, because it's just full of rules and negative connotations. It's like, well, I've got to cover my elbows, my ankles, or, how much is enough. That's not what tzniut is about at all. Now, there is an issue we'll get into it. We say modesty is covering up your dress, your clothes, what's the right length. And it seems like it just only applies to women. But tzniut in the Bible doesn't just apply to women, it applies to men and women. The origin of this word is not about rules and restrictions, but it's about the essence of who you are. We are created and creating the ingredients. So tzniut is about creating the atmosphere required for true intimacy with God. It's also directly related to creating true intimacy with your husband or your wife. And when I'm talking about intimacy, I'm not talking about a physical thing. I'm talking about truly connecting on a level that makes you one with the other person. It's something that I've always tried to understand, because when I was in revival, all they talk about was intimacy with God. And I'm like, well, what is intimacy with God? And everything in my life has been against me being able to connect with someone else and with God. It's like society, culture sets you up for failure in true intimacy. You don't get married for sex, you get married for oneness. And it's something that we all truly want. We really want to connect with God, don't we? Well, tzniut is actually the key. So it's pretty powerful. If you saw God, you get very excited. Oh, wow, look how great and big and mighty he is. But when you see something, you start to get over what you see. It's like, how long can you get excited about something you see? You'd enjoy it for a while, then your relationship with what you see would stop. So God's not about what you see, or what you feel, what you hear. It's any of the 5 physical senses is not about intimacy. If you see God, you would never understand or know him. If I stare at someone for 10 years, I would never know who they are. I know that they're tall, they're fat, they're skinny, they're short, but I'd never know them. It's the same with God. That's why we don't see him, because he wants us to know him. Tzniut, I'm saying tzniut, which we translate in English as modesty. It's like, the word means all this stuff, and we're focused on this little tiny thing and we're upset about it. But if we understand what truly it's about, we'd want to be tzniut, we'd want to be modest. So the rabbis offer better words for tzniut, such as privacy or hiddenness. Tzniut covers everything we do. I mean, the New Testament says that we need to walk in modesty. In the Old Testament, same thing. One big thing about tzniut is they call it tzedakah in Judaism. We say righteousness, but tzedakah is charity. Now, one of the biggest, that I think is Ramban says, the highest level of charity that you can give is when the receiver has no idea where it came from. And it's like, I'll read what I said. The highest level of giving is when the giver and receiver don't know each other. They're hidden from each other. That is, the origin is hidden and the destination is hidden, which takes what is done to another level. It's another level, higher spiritual level and a supernatural level. So when your giving gets to the level where this is the best thing about giving it, like even in the church, you don't know where it goes to. And the church doesn't know where it comes from. And it goes to the destination and blesses, it accomplishes something in the kingdom. But it has this blessing where it blesses the receiver and the transmitter, the giver, gets blessed. There's a supernatural thing. So can you start seeing what I'm getting on about tzniut here? I'm talking about tzniut is to amplify and multiply the end result. So it's like, do you want multiplied intimacy with God? Do you want... That's what I'm trying to get at. In a synagogue and in the tabernacle too, the Torah scroll is the most holy book. And they usually have it in it's like clothed in, it's a material. So to get it out, you've got to take it the material, and then you've got to unroll it. But it's behind doors, and then it's behind curtains, and you've got to come into the sanctuary. And to access that level of holiness, you've got to go through veils. The same thing with the Holy of Holies. The Holy of Holies was the most holy place. But to get there, there's actually 3 veils that you've got to go through to get there. And there's a process, and it's like holiness upon holiness upon holiness. And it's like layers to what's precious and hidden. The body has many layers to protect the most precious parts. Your brain has a skull that protects it, and then it's got flesh and skin and hair because it's precious. Everything in nature has these levels to access what's most important. When you hide things that are precious to you, like your jewelry. Men probably don't associate with this, but you put it in a precious box, and then you put the precious box in a secret drawer. And the whole thing is that going into your home, the most precious things are put away in secret and in private. That's to do with tzniut. Just think, okay, if you had a bit of jewelry made by your kids, its market value might not be much, but you'll put it in the most precious place to keep it. If a thief comes in, he's going to see that and go, that must be worth a lot because it's hidden in a secret place. But if it's just out on the kitchen table, they think, well, that's just worthless. And it's creating, Women were made from not the nose, not the eye, not the arm, but from a hidden part, the rib. It's because, and it's what the rabbis say about this is trying to teach you, like women especially, our very nature is tznius. So the whole thing about tznius is that things that are kept hidden and secret and private until the right time that they're revealed. When they're put away, it makes them special and holy and they come out at the right time. Like Sunday is a special day. It's kept for that. It becomes holy, sacred, and it makes it on another level. When we don't keep things hidden or secret, just say they become there's a sense of shame that attaches with it. I'll give you another example of tznius. Say that you revealed something secret that you knew about someone else to someone else, which is gossip. There's a sense of shame that gets attached to that because it's something that you shouldn't do. So the Torah, this is a real quick introduction to the subject, but it gives the idea of something secret to come out at the right time. Clothing and dress in Judaism is important. It's also important according to the New Testament that we should dress and act modestly. However, the idea of being intimate, so this is what Judaism teaches, is okay, we need to be modest, but the ultimate goal is actually to be naked. They might go, well, a bit different. So true intimacy with God is to have nothing between you and him. I'm not talking about a physical nakedness. I'm talking about there's no things. Transparent. Actually, another definition I heard of holiness is transparency. This is there's nothing between us. If you're single, you should be very modest. It's like hiding away what should only be revealed at a specific time to do with becoming one. You destroy intimacy if you reveal the things that are hidden and secret at the wrong time. There's nothing wrong with the body, but the secret is the body has to be revealed at the right time. Another example is a mikvah, which we say baptism. In Judaism, it's done completely naked. I'm glad we don't do that. I should say they do it in privacy. There's nobody else around, but it's done naked. It's an appointment at a specific time. It's holy appointment with God, and it's done at the right time. The breastplate on the ephod, you remember the high priest has this breastplate, he's got 12 stones on it. So the tribe of Benjamin, the stone is yashpah. Yashpah, pay, it means has a mouth. Benjamin knew what his brothers had done with Joseph. Remember, it was he was thrown in the pit and then he was sold as a slave. He knew about what happened. He knew he's not dead. He knew he's sold as a slave. He knew what his brothers done and the lie told to his father. And yet he knew from divine understanding it was not for him to reveal this secret to his father. Wow. Now, this is you can see, modesty is in the way we act. We've got to be careful about stepping out. So the Midrash points out this as modesty. Yashpai means has a mouth but does not use it inappropriately. Has a mouth and can keep a secret. Again, it was all about the timing. He couldn't talk about it until the timing was right. So that the rabbis call that is tznius. That's modesty. Tzniut would be better to said keeping something private secret until the right time, even if it's difficult to do so. Like even in getting married, and I wish I knew this stuff before when I was young, and I really wish the young people would understand this concept, that if they would understand the power of modesty, they would set themselves up for a higher level of success in marriage. They would achieve true intimacy like they would not experience. Judaism goes, I actually totally agree with it now, I've studied it out, but they won't even shake the hands of someone of the opposite sex that's not their family members. There's this guarding touch. There's like they're reserving and keeping themselves special for their partner. And they teach that the more you break tzniut, the more you're setting yourselves up for failure, that you can't achieve true intimacy with the other person. And the same goes with God. Marriage and our relationship, God, is like this beautiful parallel. And if you understand how one works, you'll understand how this works. Tzniut would be better said keeping something private until the right time, even if it's difficult. If we think it's just the way we dress, we miss it. Yes, it's difficult because it's self-restraint. It's keeping things for the right time. Here's another idea about tzniut. Could you imagine a judge walking into a courtroom and he's wearing thongs, a singlet, and a pair of shorts? It doesn't look right, does it? No. Tzniut is actually about the image that you project to other people. It's an important part of who we are. We're reflecting our true self, but we're also reflecting our true God. What does he look like? Now they teach the outside does affect the inside, but the inside also reflects is reflected on the outside. Both are important. I mean, that's why the high priest and the priestly garments, they call them garments of splendor and beauty, because it's like you're meant to look beautiful on the outside. And in Western culture, we say the clothes make the man. So it's like if you dress in a way that represents who you truly want to be, then it will start changing how you see yourself. A lot of people that are depressed and down will probably dress down. But if they say, no, I'm not, this is my true identity, I'm going to change how I see myself. You'd start operating in tzniut, because tzniut is your true identity. So 1 Corinthians chapter 5, which we use a lot for communion, it talks about purging out the old leaven. If you put a lot of that in context, he actually mentions in there, if you go into the Greek, being modest. We need to keep a high standard. It's important. So however, the outside is a clear indication of what's going on in the heart. Tzniut has the idea of getting, I don't know what I said there. Okay. Tzniut is about modesty in speech. A good example is when Jesus was saying, when you pray, don't stand up, big long prayers, look at me. That's not tzniut. That's not being humble. It's like, what did Jesus say when you pray? I'm getting a little bit messed up here, but he said about what you do in secret, the Father sees. It's like if you do it on the street corners, it's like you've already received your reward from man. But what you do in secret, what you do in hidden, actually gets seen by God and yet rewarded by God. That's another example of it. Amen. Micah 6:8 says, He has told you, O man, what is good and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. Now, the word humbly is actually tzniut. Walk in modesty. So this is a really important concept. If we know who we really are, we would walk appropriately. We would treat ourselves with more respect. Tzniut would follow. So it's not like I'm trying to be modest. It's like, no, you wake up to who you truly are, and that will be the fruit of it. I mean, could you imagine the Queen dressing inappropriately? Now, you're a king and a priest. How would you meant to look? Well, okay. Another way of looking at tzniut is that everything you do for the sake of heaven. That's out of per vote. Colossians says exactly the same thing. It says everything you do as unto the Lord. So it's like your focus is that the way I dress is actually for Him. The way I speak is for Him. The way I act is for Him. You'll act out of tzniut. I was thinking of this. Do you know that one day Jesus is going to come back and He's going to be seated in Jerusalem, and you're going to get on an airplane, probably Air Al, which is, it's a rapture thing, but anyway, and go to Israel, and you're going to go before Him. I mean, can you imagine standing before Jesus? How do you think you're going to dress? How do you think you're going to speak before Him? I mean, in Hebrews, it actually talks about that. This is a huge concept. He sees everything. He's here right now. So it's like, yeah. Okay, here's a concept. To show you another concept about tzniut. So Moabites, the Jews were allowed to oppress them, but the Amorites were not allowed to oppress them. What's the difference? Where did they come from? So the Moabites and Amorites came from Lot. When Lot escapes with his daughters, they are hiding, and they thought they're the last people on earth. So it's not a good story, but they had children from their union with their father. The two daughters named their children in two different ways. One daughter names their child Moab, which is Moab, which means from my father. It's like, so everyone knows how bad this child is and where it came from. It's like acting immodestly, even though there is wrong towards what he did. The other daughter names their child Ammon, which means from my nation or from my people. It's a more modest message. So from the modesty, those two nations came from a bad union, were treated very differently. It should show you that modesty, your modesty actually goes forward into the future. It affects your children. It affects your future and their future. So it's like you are affected by the modesty of your ancestors, is what they teach, which is quite heavy. I mean, if we've come out of immodesty, we can have that wiped away by the blood of Jesus, and with cleansing. Sorry?
Legacy, you keep a legacy.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of receiving a new name, born again, is that you can wipe away the past. And I believe that should be continuously. So why does God practice tzniut? How am I going? God doesn't want you to be oppressed by how He looks. He wants you to know Him, to know what He likes and what He doesn't like, what makes Him comfortable, what doesn't make Him uncomfortable. This is what Torah is about. God is saying, I'm not going to let you see me. This is called tzniut, modesty or privacy. God practices this Himself. Marriage should work the same way. We should not see the nakedness of the other before the right time. It stops intimacy. It's like keeping something precious and holy stored just for her. And I mean, modesty works even in marriage. It's like there should be private, secret things that's just you and her, or the other way around. Does that make sense? Because if you break that trust, it destroys intimacy. So you're saying when you're being tznius, I am not something you can see with your eyes. I am someone you have to understand and care about. If you're going to see, you're just going to lose interest. I've even heard some people, they're more Catholic, maybe Christian, but they say, I want to marry based on looks. And I thought, well, that's pretty stupid. What happens in 20 years' time when the looks start fading? You don't want to marry because of how they look. You want to marry them for who they are. Because when you see the true them, their beauty is eternal. And yeah. There are things that the eye likes to see and the things that the ears want to hear, and there are things that the mind enjoys and it likes to know. There are things that the heart enjoys it likes to fear. Modesty means there is nothing for you to see. Either get to know me or I'm not interested in you. So it's like if you're single and you're dressing because you're trying to attract someone, it's like you're attracting them for what they can see. They're never going to know you. Intimacy will never come about. Modesty is not about what you wear, it's about you. Is there something to know about you, or are you just something to look at? I heard a rabbi say, people are not meant to be like candy. Candy lasts for a minute and then it's gone. It makes you feel good and it's over. People are meant to be deep. A deep person, it doesn't matter how long you spend with them, you want more. An immodest person, it's like you talk to them and going, I can't wait to, go. But building modesty, building holiness is spending time with him. And then it's like, I want to hang around that person. And that's what should be attracting you to someone else. Church should not be about the experience, the eye candy. Modesty is the framework that gives us a sense of self and a blueprint for stability. God himself is modest. The holy temple's purpose was to contain God's presence. The structure of the temple had fences from the Holy of Holies. Marriage needs petitions. Holy of Holies was permitted. Putting things in the wrong order always destroys intimacy. I'll stop with that. Does everyone get that? Yeah. Now, we do need to start changing how we see things. Like even in church, we need to see this as special and a holy place. That when you come in here, this is like coming into the Holy of Holies. We need to prepare ourselves before we come in here and go, I'm going to meet God. It's actually one of the number one things I remember at revival is I literally thought that when I came in the church, I was going to see God. You come in with this expectation. You don't come in here and you start gossiping and mucking around. This is a holy place. Your bedroom at home is a holy place. And you keep it holy. I mean, I heard the rabbi say you don't have a TV in there. It's a special place. And we need to start putting up fences and saying, this is special. Your Bible is holy. It's not to be used to hold back a door or put on the floor. It's a holy book. Anyway, help me.